Hi, I'm Kenya here with Madame Shaheen at the Transforming Eagle Eye to talk about ICE throughout Norristown specifically. So hi, Madame.
How are you, Kenya?
Good. So can you tell us a little bit about ICE? What does it stand for?
So ICE stands for Immigration Customs Enforcement. It's a federal organization in the United States to help regulate immigration.
Can you tell us who it affects specifically?
So I think there's a misconception that it, especially here in Norristown, that it only affects Latinos, but it essentially, they are they're targeting any illegal immigrant who entered the U.S. without the appropriate documentation. So that could be from anywhere in the world.
Do you know the process specifically, like what happens when they're removed from their families?
So I only know, in individual cases that have, hit close to us here at the high school. But we have two former students whose fathers have been detained by ICE, and they were both taken outside of their homes in the morning on their way to work. So, they left the house for the day, families inside, never make it to work because they get picked up, and then they get transported to, it depends on really the detention center. So one went to York, the other is currently in Newark, New Jersey.
So do you know about how this can affect the families, or like how they feel, what happens after that?
Sure. So personally, obviously, the families are immediately affected, and it's obviously very upsetting because one, you can go days without even knowing where they are, so the process of finding out where they are is very challenging, and you kind of have to know the right steps to take for that. It's also obviously economically an issue because you have one head of your household not working to support the family. There's stress on the other individual who's trying to deal with explaining to their children why their parent isn't at home, and what happened, and that their parent isn't a bad person, and there's a lot that comes with that stress.
If an individual feels as though they're not safe, what can they do to feel comfort?
So it's really important, and we have this conversation in terms of, even when you, I equate it to when you talk about with your own kids about, call 911 for emergencies, the things that you talk about with your kids as they're growing up to prepare. This, unfortunately, is the same conversation and a really important conversation that you need to have. So we call it an action plan, and the Pennsylvania and Philadelphia Immigration Coalition came here to speak to Unidad about it. Maria Sotomayor is in charge, and she came and presented to our group to tell us that there are really important steps you have to take. You have to talk to your kids about what ICE is, what are the potentials of ICE if they were to come and detain someone in your family, and then what are the steps. There are things you don't have to say lawfully, information you don't have to give. There are people you should call. So if you arrived home from school and your parents don't arrive home, what's the chain of command? Who do you call? What numbers? For young kids, do they know those phone numbers? Are they posted somewhere in your house? Do you have an immigration lawyer on call that you can, the phone number that you have? So it's really this sense of urgency right now because they're present in Norristown that families need to have these conversations, and they're tough conversations to have because they do put fear, especially into younger children. They don't want to see anything happen to their family, but it's important because then they can help make those necessary steps and feel more proactive instead of reactive and wait too late for things to change.
Okay, so I heard you just said that if a student comes home and their parent isn't there to call, so are you telling me that when their family member or whoever is taken, they're not informed?
They are not always informed. So we had, from the two examples that we have one whose father was detained and he was not taken, and with 3 days he was already deported to Mexico. So the family had very little opportunity to react or to get some kind of assistance. For our other family, he was able to reach out and make a phone call to let them know where he was. But again, it's really, it's case by case. It depends on where they go, and it depends on who's working their case. So there are steps you can take when you if you have someone in your family who's been taken, there are on the website, there are steps, and we have information in our Unidad Club about like what government websites you can go to try to find out, because once they do register that person in the detainment center, then they log them in, so to speak, and then so you have access to that, but you need to know how to navigate that, and a lot of families don't know that, immediately.
Could a student reach out to a student counselor or somebody at school for more information?
Definitely. So because this has happened so close to home lately, we've been really proactive about trying to share all the information we have as Unidad, and the people we work with our counselors, with Mr. Roth, he's aware of it, Ms. Salazar-Williams, she works with groups outside in the community. Aclamo is very active. So any of those people / organizations you can go to get some support when you're, in the initial stages of this.
And they're not allowed to disclose any of the information, are they? It stays private with the student?
The school district is not allowed to talk about anyone's immigration status.
Okay.
So it is understood, that school is a safe space, and that you, as a student, I would say, you do not have to fear about that information being shared via the school district.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Thank you. That's all we needed to know. Well, that's the end. And if you guys need more information and you're watching this on YouTube, just remember that we're going to add links for further information. Thank you.